Hello everyone, this is Board Games and Bourbon. I'm Glenn Flaherty, and right now I'm going to tell you about Nanga Parbat, which is a new game coming to you from Steve Finn Games. This is themed as Sherpas working the mountains and trying to corral animals, but really what you have is a two-player abstract game that plays in about 25 minutes. The visuals of it is going to harken back to K2 or to Parks because of the animal and the tents. But the mechanics in it, well, one, there's mechanics that work kind of uniquely in how you travel around and you collect things. But how the game actually scores is going to harken back to Cosmic Run Regeneration. But there is a thick one level of play that you could play, which is set collection to score. And in that, what you're doing is you're collecting animals, basically, that you're trading in sets of the similar animals for points or sets of different animal for points. When you remove animals, you put workers down. And then there's a spatial score for your workers that give you tent bonuses, camping bonuses. But there is also a forecasting because you need to kind of set up what you're doing. You have to kind of hate block on your enemy. And as the game goes on, it gets tighter and tighter and harder to pull things off. So whereas you think you're going to do like easy scoring up front to take it away from your opponent, what you're really doing is you're kind of blocking yourself into. So let's talk about how to play and what it compares to and if you're going to like it. So this right here, this is the main board. And what you have on the main board are 6 different sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then each of these sections are divided again into 6 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're numbered. Okay, that's important because the number of the location tells you where the Sherpa goes and what you have access to. And what you're going to do in the game is somebody is going to take the the yellow person, you're going to put them somewhere. So let's just say we put them in area number 3. You pick where to go, the other person gets to choose. And what they're going to do is they're going to do a few things. They're going to pick an animal, and then it's going to have kind of repercussions from there. So let's say I choose this little red animal as my first person. I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it on my personal little board here. This is my personal little board. I'm going to put my red animal right here. It's going to serve multiple functions when my animal goes on my personal board. And what you're going to see here is every kind of animal does something different. Had I gotten a white animal, what it lets me do is it lets me move 2 different workers on the board. So remember, I remove an animal, I'm going to put a worker down. This lets me move workers like mine and someone else, so I can either now have adjacency and turn it in for points, or I can break up my opponent's adjacency. I could have the brown animal that lets me get a worker in place of an animal, again trying to create adjacency for myself or break up my opponents. I could have the gray animal, lets me swap 2 animals. That's important because sometimes what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my worker, I'm going to trade in to swap animals so I get the animal I need, and then I'm going to spend it so that I can mess up their score. I could take the black animal, I trade it in, and I can move my Sherpa somewhere else. And so in case I have to kind of have access to a different region on the board. I have a blue animal, which will act as any color for set trade-ins. And then I have the red, which is what I chose. Now that's important. I chose red. I can use it for sets. But in this case, this is a catch-up mechanism. It says if I am behind, I get behind or equal. Or in other words, not in the lead, I get a point. So we're going to pretend I'm the blue player. I took a red animal. I am tied, not in the lead. So that gives me a bonus of 1 point. Okay, so that was step number 1. Step number 2 is I'm going to take one of my workers and I'm going to drop it onto this number 5 square. Okay, that goes there. Third, what that means is now the Sherpa moves, because that spot was number 5, the Sherpa moves to number 5. Right there. Now my opponent has to work from there. Okay, so what are they going to do? Well, let's say they are going to take the white animal. They're going to put that on their board. Okay, they took that animal first. Animals can be done at any point. Trading in for points is done at the end of your move. So I took that. I'm going to place my worker right there. And because that was spot number 1, the Sherpa moves up here, okay? The blue player is going to go again. Again, they're going to go ahead and they're going to take this red animal. Okay, they're going to take it. They don't get any points, but they're trying to get a bonus of having the same animals. And then the blue person puts their person there. That says number 5. The Sherpa moves back to area number 5. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move this camera a little more in here and look at the scoring, okay? This is the scoring right here. Now what this says is you can score for campgrounds, and really what that is adjacency of workers. So let's say I had 3 workers here right next to each other. What I could do, I can trade in for 1 scoring opportunity per game, is I put those pinks out of the game and I put my tents in the way. Now these are end stage. You cannot manipulate tents at all. So I put 3 tents. When I put my 3 tents, I can put down 6 tents, 5 tents, 4 tents, or 3 tents twice. Okay. When I put down 3 tents, I can take a score. So I'm going to go ahead and take this number 4 score. When I take that 4 score, it's now blocked. No one else can get it. So I was at 0. Now I am at 4. I can trade in 3 tents again, but I'll only get 2 points. My opponent can do that as well. If they trade in 4 tents, they can get 5 points. If they trade in 5 tents, they get 6. If they trade in 6 tents, they get 7 points. However, if I had blocked this off up here, right, for 6 tents, and then my opponent comes, they trade in 6 tents too, well, they can't get it because they're blocked. So they put down 6 tents, but they'll only get the 6 points right next to it. Or they keep moving down the line. Once they're blocked, no one has access. The other things you can trade in is different animals. 6 different animals, you get 8 points. 5, you get 7. 4, you get 6. If you trade in 3, it's 5, then 3. And if you have similar animals, you are going to trade in 6 for 9 points. Okay, 5 for 8 points, 4 for 7 points, 3 for 6 points, and the second time, 3 for 4 points. And what I've kind of discovered as the game goes on, each time I play this, the score was really tight. And I want to say we always ended up circling the board. It goes to 25, and we went past it. And we're always within 1 point of each other on the score. So we went around here, we scored, went around, we came again, and we always ended up within 1. There's 2 catch-up mechanisms in the game. One is when you get these little red animals. If you're behind, it's going to give you a bonus point. But the other rule says that if you were to move and land on the other person, because each square can only hold 1 person, you leapfrog and you go in front. So a little catch-up mechanism that's kind of cool there. As the game goes on, it gets more interesting. And the good thing is the game also moves swiftly. The game gets more interesting because as these tents come out, you're carving up the board and you've probably painted yourself in a corner. Because what's going to happen is when we look at the scoring, early on, you're like, hey, it's fun to score points. And we're blocking off all these low scores. So all you're left with are those high score opportunities. But the board is now chopped up by tents, so it's harder to make it happen. So now you really got to think about how you're using the animals to manipulate the board. And you're forecasting, okay, I'm going to need this animal over here, so that's in the number 3 territory, but the Sherpa's over here. So to go to the number 3, I'm going to take this red animal here so I can move. I can't really benefit from it because I'm in the lead, but at least it'll get me where I need to go, and I'll move them there. Or I can see my opponent needs to go to number 3, so I'm totally not going to take number 3. That's the last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure they can't get any set collection. I'm going to put that yellow up there into the white. So I'm going to take the gray, so it says number 1, and it throws them up at the top. Stuff like that is what you're trying to do here. I'm going to pull this camera right back out, okay? So there's actually a lot of different choices that you're doing in there, and it gets more interesting. The other thing about it is all the information is right in front of you, and there's not so much information that it has a high bar of entry. Like if you played something like Terraforming Mars, perhaps the game's not complex, but you have to know what all the cards are so you know what might be coming, you understand how they interact. Here, everything's right there. You will be competitive right away, and I love that about the game. Plus, the colors are bright, the art is nice, the time is nice, that it makes it just enough that you have meaty decisions, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. If you enjoy games like Shobu or Adler, 2 fantastic games, abstract games, you're going to love this too, okay? So this is Nanga Parbat by Stephen Games. Check that out. It's going to be on Kickstarter soon. I don't know what the price is. I think it's part of a 4-pack of games. It'll be pretty cool. So if you have any questions about gameplay, please ask. I'm happy to help. And until next time, friends, be well. Bye.